So let's get started with IAM. And for this, I'm going to type IAM into the search bar and go to the service named IAM. So identity and access management is where you're going to organize your users, your groups, your roles, etc., etc. And so as we can see on the bottom right, on the top right, sorry, we can click on global. And here it says that IAM does not require region selection. That's because IAM is a global service, one of the few in AWS. And that means that all the users you're going to create in here apply to every single region we will be using AWS in, okay? Okay, so we have 0 users. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to click on users, and we're going to create our first user. So my username is going to be Stefan, and the idea is that we want to give this user access to the AWS Management Console. So you may ask me a question, why do we add a new user? Why don't we use the user we've just created by registering in AWS? So the user we have right now is called the root user. And you know it's a root user because on the top right corner of your screen, it just displays your account name. So Stefan AWS in my instance, okay? But it is not recommended to use your root accounts because it has a lot of power. It is the account that can allow to close or open your account and so on. So you want to be creating an admin user instead to use, and only use the root account if you really need to. So we're going to create this admin right now, and my name is Stefan. So the access type is going to be AWS Management Console access. And because it's my own account, I'm going to generate a custom password, and I'm going to disable the required password reset, because this means that because it's my own account, I don't want to change my password. But in case you're creating an account for someone else, you may want to use an auto-generated password and also prompt them to reset their password at the next sign-in. Next, I click on permissions, and we are prompted with 3 options. So we can get started with the groups, and this is the best practices. So let's just start by using the best practice. We're going to create a group, and this group is going to be called admins, because this is where we're going to place our admin users. So we're going to attach a policy to this group, and the first one is called administrator access. So all the users that will belong to the group admin will inherit the policy administrator access, which allows your users to be doing anything they want in your AWS accounts. So we're good to go, and the user now is going to be in this group admins. Click on tags. Tags are something that is going to be seen all across AWS, and they're a way for you to categorize and organize your resources. And so it's not something I'm going to use a lot in this course, but still, if you wanted to see what the tags were used for, you could say department, engineering, and that could be a tag for your user, just a way for classifying your user, for example, engineering, finance, supply chain, accounting, all this kind of stuff. So I click on next review. And okay, we have Stefan. It has console access with a password. There's a custom password. Everything looks good. We're going to just create this user, and we're good to go. Now in here, we have the option to download the credentials as a CSV. So I'm going to do this to back it up. And we can also send an email for the login instructions if you wanted to, if the user you're creating is not a user for yourself. Okay, next, as we can see, the user can log in into the management console using this link, but we're going to customize this link in a second. So I'm going to click on close. And as we can see now, we have a user, and it is in this group admin. Okay, so if I click on the groups on the left-hand side, we have admins. And if I click on the admin group, as we can see, there's one user, Stefan. If we look at the permissions of that group, there is administrator access, okay? And we can see that if we click on the user Stefan, in terms of permission, it also has the administrator access permission because it was attached from the group admin. So as you can see, if you have a user belonging to a group and a permission is attached to the group, then the users also will inherit the permissions of the group. Okay, so now let's go ahead, and we want to be able to sign in to the console using the user we just created. For this, we can use this URL right here, and it will work fine. But you can also customize this URL to use a preferred alias for the account. And this is something that should be unique across all the accounts on AWS everywhere. So I'm just going to name mine Stefan AWS V2, because I think this one is not used. Okay, I'm going to create this alias, and now we can use this URL to log into my console. So what I've done here is that I've opened a new browser window in incognito mode. So this way, the login on the left-hand side and the login on the right-hand side can be different. You could be using another web browser if you wanted to. The idea is that you can't use twice the same web browser because you can't be logged in into 2 different accounts using the same web browser. So this is why I open an incognito window. So I'm going to open the URL from the left-hand side. And as you can see, now I can sign in as an IAM user, where I specify either the account ID or the account alias. So the account alias is what we specified right here, but the account ID is what you can find if you click on the account and you have the account number right here. This is the account ID, so they're equivalent. Then the IAM username and password. If you wanted to know how to get to this page without using this URL, if you click on sign in using the root email, as you can see, when we sign into AWS, we have the option to use either the root user or the IAM user. And if we do have an IAM user, then we can just enter the account alias and click on next, and we're taken back into this page. So I know my IAM username and I know my password. I will click on sign in, and here we go. I am signed in into AWS. So as we can see here, we have two AWS accounts, and we can recognize that they're different by looking at what's on the top bar. So if we look at the top bar here, it says Stefan AWS, and there's my account and the account number. But if you go to the right-hand side, and I'm just going to resize this. If you go to the right-hand side, it says Stefan at Stefan AWS V2. So the at sign means that there is an IAM user, Stefan, and then it's connected into a specific account alias. And this is how we recognize that you are using an IAM user or a root user. So it is recommended for this course to use an IAM user to keep on going, because the root account is something that from the best practice you're not going to use. Now, from the course perspective, it is okay to use either the root account or my account. I will sometimes use either or. If you have to use a root account, I will let you know, okay? But it is best practice, just so you know, to use an IAM user connected as an admin in your account instead of your root account credentials, okay? So that's it for this lecture. I hope you liked it, and I will see you from the next lecture.